Hi, so today's video is on something called cervicogenic dizziness or cervical vertigo. So my name's Eric Hansen. I run a clinic in Gladesville called Brain and Body Health. In 2012, I graduated from a postgrad degree in clinical neuroscience. And since then, I've been focusing on helping people with dizziness and vertigo and concussions, to name a few. And cervicogenic dizziness is one of the more common ones that comes in. Now, it is a complicated problem, so I'm going to attempt to explain how it occurs, and then we'll talk through what you can do to get better. Now, cervicogenic dizziness, it is an annoying one. So there are some types of dizziness and vertigo that are easy to fix, like BPPV, airplane maneuver and it's gone, but others that need medical intervention for different sorts of infections. But cervicogenic dizziness is more of a persistent one that just doesn't go away until you get it sorted by someone who knows what they're doing. But to understand more about cervicogenic dizziness, we need a really good understanding of how your balance works in general. So your balance is the result of three different types of sensory input. So you've got proprioception, being muscles and joints, sending signals up to your brain to tell it how your skeleton's moving around. You've got your vestibular input, which is input from your inner ear apparatus that tells you if you're rotating or traveling forward or back, up or down or side to side. And then you've got your visual input. So your brain is using vision to constantly assess which way up is. But your balance is putting those three systems together to figure out what's going on and how your body should respond based on those three different sensory inputs. So that's where, if I'm leaning over to the right, my inner ear on the right and left is saying that I've leaned across, my joints are saying the same thing, and my vision is saying the same thing. That way my brain goes, yep, all three things are saying I leant to the right. I must be leaning to the right. Let's contract the muscles on the left to pull you back to the middle, and then you go to the left, and the same thing pulls you back to the center line. So your brain is constantly using those three different senses to control your balance. So your brain also has this wonderful ability to adapt, which is really, really good. Otherwise, our balance would be a lot worse. So if you have an issue with the acuity or the quality of the input coming in from one of these systems, be it proprioceptive, visual, or vestibular, your body starts to dampen the amount of importance or the amount of attention it uses in that particular system, but it still needs to get an idea of what's going on. So it pays less attention to one system and then it starts to amplify the importance of one of the other symptoms. So for example, if your vestibular system starts to become compromised, which can happen with aging or with a head knock or whiplash, your brain responds by amplifying the proprioceptive input. So it starts to pay a lot of attention to what happens with your proprioceptive system so that you've still got that good sense of balance. You just happen to be using your muscles and joints more than you're using your inner ears. So that's great. That means you can still balance, walk, run, do everything that you want to do. But there is an issue with compensating this way. It's not quite as efficient as the original settings or the original way that your body was doing things. So there are a few different theories about what happens with cervicogenic dizziness. Now, one of them is that if you have a issue with your vestibular system and your body starts to pay more attention to what's happening with your proprioceptive system, so your muscles and joints, then that's fine. You've still got good balance. But if you happen to have a tiny little bit of a problem in your neck, so let's say you sleep on the couch and your joints are a little bit stiff, or you cop an injury and the joints become a little bit irritated in your neck, because your brain was paying a lot of attention to what was happening in your joints of your neck, this now has more of an impact than it should. So
Which is how you get the symptoms of cervicogenic dizziness. Another theory
has to do with something called efferent copy, which is a fancy term for your brain has an idea about what it should feel like if you turn to the right or the left or any sort of movement. So through repetition, your brain has learned that if I turn to the right, it should feel like this. So what your brain's constantly doing is it's comparing what it anticipates to feel compared to what is actually feeling. So if we've got an issue with your vestibular, your proprioception, or your visual system, and you turn to the right, and for whatever reason, the signals coming in from those systems don't match what your brain was expecting to feel, The difference between the anticipation and the actual senses coming in creates those spells of dizziness and vertigo. So that's one of the more common theories about what's happening with cervicogenic dizziness. So the way that we then go about helping people with cervicogenic dizziness is to figure out which system has the biggest issue. Is it the proprioceptive system that's way too sensitive, or the vestibular system that's a little bit a lack of sensitivity or too much sensitivity in that particular area? And then through a combination of cervical rehab, so we've got some cool lasers that we put on people's heads and give them some proprioceptive tasks, so they have to very accurately control the joints and the movement of their head. Combine that with some vestibular therapy to help any issues with the inner ear system, and usually some neck strengthening exercises. And that combination has got what the research shows is to be the most effective way of helping with cervicogenic dizziness. It's a protocol that's been working quite well in clinic for us. It doesn't take too long to help people with cervicogenic dizziness. So if you or anyone you know has cervicogenic dizziness, feel free to send us an email, info@brainandbodyhealth.com.au, or you can click the link below and leave a comment, and we can get back to you about if we can help you or not. Thanks for watching.